Hello and welcome. Tonight, the President directs the Minister of Finance, Wale Edu, to present a template within 48 hours for negotiations towards an agreement on a new national minimum wage. Federal government hopeful of an amicable solution and resolution of the minimum wage dispute before the expiration of a 7-day ultimatum as NLC and TUC suspend nationwide strike for 5 days. And Senate raises concerns over the shutdown of the national power grid and distribution of flights due to labor strike, says action amounts to economic sabotage.
Business news tonight. World Bank sounds alarm on rising food prices in low and middle income countries, urges global action to tackle food insecurity.
On sports news tonight, 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic pulls out of the French Open ahead of his quarterfinal against Casper Ruud owing to a knee injury suffered in the 4th round.
And from the nation's capital, Governor Siminalayi Fubara says the worst is over in the political crisis in Rivers, as APC in the state scores its administration's performance low in the past 1 year.
And in international news from London, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP party are projected to fall short of the 400-seat mark they were hoping for in the country's general election.
Following the industrial action by organized labor, which shut down activities across the country yesterday, the President has directed the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edu, to present a financial guide for negotiations towards a new minimum wage within 48 hours. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, said this in Abuja after a federal government delegation on the new minimum wage met with the President in Abuja. The minister says the federal government is not against a wage increase, but it is determined to ensure that whatever figure is agreed upon, it is the one the government can pay.
We thank Labour that they have suspended, through to their awards last night, they've suspended their strike early this morning. And government on its side, you can see that the President has just summoned a meeting of all those who negotiated on behalf of the federal government, led by the Secretary of the Government of the Federation. We're all there to look at those issues, and then the President has directed the Minister of Finance to do the numbers and get back to him between today and tomorrow, so that we can have some figures ready for negotiation with Labour. Let me say that Mr. President is determined to go with what the committee has said. He is also looking at the welfare of Nigerians. Like I've said earlier, government is not against, it's not an opponent of labor discussions, it's not an opponent of wage increase. But what is there is that government is always desirous of ensuring that there is a balance between what government pronouncement is and what the realities are on ground. And therefore, we'll work assiduously to ensure that whatever we do, whatever promises the government makes will be kept. That's the idea of this meeting. A wage award is not just that of the federal government. Like I mentioned earlier, the subnationals are involved, the organized private sector is involved, the labor is involved. It was labor that staged a step out during those proceedings. Now that we have come back to the negotiating table, all of us will work together again assiduously within the next 1 week to ensure that we have a new wage for Nigeria that is acceptable, that is sustainable, that is also realistic for all Nigerians.
The President's directive came after the organized labor suspended its nationwide strike, which started on midnight on Monday. While President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Mr. Joe Ajaero, said that the organs of the two leading labor centers considered the commitment of the President and agreed to suspend the strike. He said this when labor leaders returned to the negotiation table under the National Tripartite Committee on the review of the new wage. Meanwhile, the committee says that it is confident that an amicable resolution will be reached with Labour before the expiration of the 7-day ultimatum. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
Members of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress made good their threats to embark on an indefinite industrial action across the country. Their action affected public offices, schools, and hospitals were shut down. Airports were closed as the national grid was shut down. After several appeals, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation summoned the Labour leaders to an emergency meeting to halt the strike.
We have had a very realistic and patriotic meeting, and the results will be very, very manifest soon.
As the strike enters the second day, Labour leaders lock themselves in closed-door meetings to decide the next line of action. The meeting yields some interest, at least in the interim.
For 1 week, that was our agreement. And even international conventions, they say you don't negotiate at gunpoint. So whether they thought that they were negotiating at gunpoint or whatever. So we didn't suspend, we relaxed. When our statement comes out last time, we relaxed our actions for 1 week. So that we can negotiate. Yesterday's meeting was a kind of mediatory meeting. And then we're going back to the appropriate organ that discusses wages. So we've returned back to status quo. The agreement is that
the Labour leaders also agreed to return to the negotiation table under the National Tripartite Committee on the review of the national minimum wage.
You know, the truth of the matter is that we will improve. And whether there's a figure in mind, you will know that at the end of the day. They walked out and then we called them, pleaded that they come back to the negotiating table. We were expecting that everything would come to an end and then we move forward. Because there are a lot of things to do. We've wasted too much time on this. We have a lot of things to do, and the mandate of the Ministry of Labour and Employment is to make sure that poverty is reduced and that we create jobs or create wealth. So why would we sit down and just be wasting our times when we know that time's waste for nobody? So I'm optimistic that we're going to come to conclusion of this thing so that we'll be able to move to the next level.
As you recall, you saw the communique that we signed yesterday. So we have a 7 days timeline for us to reach conclusions on all these. So we will do everything possible to stick with that timeline, because for us, we have conveyed all our position that we must stick to that timeline, which everybody has agreed. So we are working the talk along that timeline to ensure that maximum 7 days from yesterday we will have a decision.
The committee will resume negotiations on Wednesday, June 5, 2024. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Senate has expressed worry over the shutdown of the national grid and disruption of Hajj flights as a result of the nationwide strike declared by the organized labor. President of the Senate, Judicial, indicated this during plenary today, just as he halted further debate on the industrial action. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezuke, reports.
In the early hours of Tuesday morning, the National Assembly gates came under lock and key, halting vehicles from entry. Workers were compelled on day 2 of the strike to stay away as a mild drama ensued. It also caused a postponement of plenary in the House of Representatives as the Speaker left the National Assembly complex. However, senators were not deterred as the lawmakers, including Senator Abdul Nengi, who was recently recalled from suspension, arrives for the resumption of plenary. A substantial number of senators are already in the chamber, and expectedly, the industrial action by the organized labor came under focus as lawmakers advanced their contributions.
Let us see what we can do in persuading both Labour and the federal government in looking at between 75 and 90,000 naira. And every party should stop at that, because if they postpone for 1 week and nothing is doing, look at pulling down national grid. Mr. President, is not an easy job. That national grid might take another 3-4 days to come up, because shutting down a national grid, starting it up is a problem.
As we deal with the minimum wage, Mr. President, we should also be thinking of those who have no employment at all.
As the news of the suspension filtered in, the president of the Senate holds further debate on the matter, expressing worry over underlying implications.
If we want to debate, we'll begin to question a lot of things. For instance, shutting down national grid could amount to economic sabotage. Stopping children from taking WAEC means that you have set those children back by 1 year. Stopping the Hajj is not only religious sacrilege, it's also unheard of. So there are so many things involved in what is going on. So my personal opinion will be that we thank them for agreeing to go back to the negotiation table. We urge the federal government to expedite action on negotiations in order to arrive at something that is acceptable, at least acceptable to both parties, or something that is reasonably acceptable to both parties. And then immediately thereafter, since the last minimum wage has expired, as an act of parliament, they should immediately send us an executive bill for us to commence work.
Earlier, the president of the Senate announced a correspondence from President Bola Tinubu seeking confirmation of the appointment of Mr. Adepoju Olumide as the Director General of the National Space Research and Development Agency.
A day which started with a lot of struggle here at the National Assembly complex. As staff and even the media tried to gain entrance, ended rather calmly. The lawmakers apparently received the news of the suspension of strike with a lot of relief, promising to reconvene on Tuesday to, among other things, consider the report of the Salaries and Allowances Bill 2024 for judicial officers. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Away from Labour matters now, 3 people have been killed following a tanker explosion at the Obiri-Quere flyover along the east-west road in Port Harcourt, River State. The incident, which occurred at about 9:30 a.m. today, involved a tanker carrying what is believed to be liquefied natural gas, which fell over, crushed a vehicle and burst into flames while trying to navigate a roundabout. Police spokesperson in the state, Grace Iringe Koko, explains that the victims who were burnt beyond recognition were commuting in the vehicle on which the tanker fell. However, there was some mild drama when a scavenger who tried to steal parts of the truck was apprehended by the crowd, who handed him over to the police. This explosion is coming just 1 month after a similar incident occurred on the Eleme axis of the same east-west road, which claimed at least 4 lives and destroyed scores of vehicles. Let's head to Niger State now, where 1 person has also been reportedly killed and several others injured, while 30 persons are said to be trapped under a mining pit which collapsed in the Galako community of Shiroro local government area. According to a statement by the Director General, Niger State Emergency Management Agency, Abdullahi Babara, the mining pit caved in the afternoon on Monday. It was gathered that excavators had been deployed to the site to remove the debris and rescue those trapped. But the rescue operation has been hampered due to the presence of bandits in the mining area. Shiroro local government is blessed with abundant gold deposit. It is also the epicenter of banditry and terrorism activities in Niger State. And gunmen suspected to be bandits have shot dead the chief of Gidan Usmanu village in his residence in Karim Lamido local government area of Taraba State. The bandits came in their numbers on motorcycles and operated swiftly before they left. The acting spokesperson in Taraba State, Kwache Gambo, confirmed this incident, saying an investigation has been launched to unravel the perpetrators of the act. Meanwhile, the commander of the 6th Brigade Sector 3 Operation Wellstroke, Brigadier General Kingsley Uwa, is also said to have conducted an operational visit to remote areas. In a statement, the military explains that the visit was to reassure the local population of the commitment of the troops to securing the people. And in part 2, after the break, the International Response Organization Medicine Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Borders, raised alarm over what is described as worsening malnutrition crisis in northern Nigeria. Please stay with us. Back if you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. The President directs the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, to present a template within 48 hours for negotiations towards an agreement on a new national minimum wage. Federal government hopeful of an amicable resolution of the minimum wage dispute before the expiration of a 7-day ultimatum as NLC and TUC suspend nationwide strike for 5 days. Senate raises concern over the shutdown of the national power grid and disruption of flights due to labor strike, says action is economic sabotage. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP party projected to fall short of 400-seat mark, though we're hoping for the country's general election. Suspected armed men today attacked police division of Ezambo in Ohauku local government area of Ebonyi State. The gunmen who arrived in a bus started shooting sporadically, causing panic in that community. No casualty was recorded as policemen on duty repelled the attack. The police spokesperson, DSP Joshua Okandu, says that the police operatives repelled the attack after the vehicle and motorcycle were set ablaze by the fleeing gunmen. He added that the police are on the trail of the attackers. To health matters now, International Response Organization and Medicine Sans Frontières, MSF, has raised alarm over what it terms worsening malnutrition crisis, especially among children in northern Nigeria. The country representative for MSF Nigeria, Dr. Simba Tirima, said this during the presentation of the organization's 2023 activity report. According to him, inpatient facilities in northern Nigeria recorded over 100% admissions, which he has attributed to malnutrition and poor access to health care. We have more stories for you as we head over to our Abuja studios where Terry Kume is standing by. Over to you, Terry.
Well, thank you very much. And we begin in Rivers State, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara has declared that the worst in the state over a political crisis that has confronted his government since he came into office is over. He says the state government is now working to deliver quality service and signature infrastructure projects in line with his administration's People First mantra. Governor Fubara made the comments at the Thanksgiving reception organized by the Amayanaba of Okochiri Kingdom, His Royal Highness Ateke Tom, to celebrate his 60th birthday in Okochiri Town, Okrika local government area.
As a government, it is our duty to make sure that we support our own, more especially when you are contributing to peace and development of our state. I'm happy to identify with our brother. I know that the man, nobody is perfect, but in his own little way, he tries as much as he can to make peace his major gift to the people of Okrika. I know I don't need to be told how much he spends to make sure he makes people happy. I identify with you. And I want to appreciate you for standing with us. Like I said, the worst is over. What we are doing today is looking forward and advancing our states. And I'm happy that you are one of my allies.
Meanwhile, the Rivers State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has rated Governor Siminalayi Fubara's first year in office as a total disaster. This assessment is according to the state APC caretaker chairman, Mr. Tony Okocha, who said that after 1 year in office, he is yet to see any project that has been started and completed by the governor. He said this during an interaction with journalists in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, where he debunked claims that he had made a U-turn in his opposition duties.
The administration of Rivers State today
under Governor Siminalayi Fubara is a sham. Take it on a ratio or a scale of 1 to 10. He bought -0. He bought -0. In other words, it is apt to say that we have relapsed to the days of primitive administration in our political history. There's nothing to show. And I challenge the governor and his handlers and his goons to show one proof, to show me just one project that he initiated, commenced, and completed in 365 days.
Away from Rivers politics to infrastructure development, the president has restated the need for the country to invest in infrastructural development, considering the growing population. President Bola Tinubu said this while commissioning a road which he named after Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka in the Federal Capital Territory. He said the commissioning is another testament to his government's development agenda to transform every part of the country. Our State House correspondent Larry Lasisi reports.
President Bola Tinubu arrived in the venue of the commissioning of another project by the Federal Capital Territory. It is the arterial road N20 before the Muritala Mohammed Expressway junction. In attendance is the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives and Chairman of the National Assembly Committees on the FCT, management and staff of the Federal Capital Development Authority, and other dignitaries. The FCT minister, after outlining the importance of the road project, thanked the president for all he has done for the city and then made a request.
The only Nobel laureate we have that has made Nigeria proud in the world, I recommend that this road should be named Wole Soyinka Way.
The president started with the request made.
Your momentous and recommendation to name this road as Wole Soyinka Way is well received.
He then emphasized the need for investment in infrastructure development in the country.
The population of Nigeria is growing. The population of Abuja Capital Territory is growing. It is necessary to invest in infrastructure to sustain the growth and bring economic prosperity to our people.
It was then time for the commissioning. This 3.5-kilometer road that has just been commissioned and will now be known as the Wole Soyinka Way joins the list of projects that have been commissioned to mark the one-year anniversary of President Bola Tinubu. It's expected that with this commissioning, this area and this district will experience more development and more prosperity. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
Staying with infrastructure, the Minister of Works, Mr. David Umahi, has raised an alarm over the activities of vandals of the Second Niger Bridge. In a statement by his special advisor on media, Uchenna Orji, Mr. Umahi describes the activities of the vandals as cruel for destroying the expansion joints used to absorb the thermal expansions of the Second Niger Bridge. He expressed sadness that a human being could destroy such a critical and strategic treasure that has immense socio-economic benefits to the contiguous state and indeed the entire nation. According to him, this is happening despite the presence of the private security outfit deployed by the Federal Ministry of Works to man the area. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is appealing to the nation's judiciary to do the right thing by not entertaining what he calls fictitious election litigations filed by politicians. Dr. Jonathan was speaking in Asaba, the Delta State capital, where he inaugurated the Delta State High Court complex and also flagged off the presentation of 20 Toyota Prado sport utility vehicles to judges in the state. He commended Governor Sheriff Oberewori on his administration's infrastructural development drive.
The event kicks off with the arrival of former President Goodluck Jonathan, who is accompanied by his host, Governor Sheriff Oberewori. The former president is here to formally inaugurate this edifice, which was initiated by previous administrations and completed by Governor Sheriff to serve as a commitment to the pursuit of justice and excellence in the judiciary.
For finding it worthy.
The Chief Judge of Nigeria, represented by the presiding judge of the Court of Appeal, Asaba Division, and the Chief Judge of Delta State in their address, thanked the governor for completing the project, which has lingered for nearly 25 years, with various challenges experienced during its construction.
The five-story High Court complex stands as more than just a structure of steel and stone. It is a testament to our shared values and aspirations. It embodies the ideals of how a court of justice should be. This temple of justice will assist the judges in this state to administer justice to all manner of men and women without fear or favor.
For the governor, the completion of the High Court building became necessary because the judiciary is the only arm of government in the state without a befitting building for its operations.
As a government, we have taken steps to further ensure that our judges and associated staff not only operate in a conducive and enabling environment, but as also provided with the necessary tools that complement the functionality and prestige of their offices.
With the speeches over, former President Jonathan moves to formally inaugurate the building and hand over the utility vehicles to the judges. While commending the governor for his infrastructural developmental strides, he discourages the judiciary from entertaining fictitious litigations from politicians after every election cycle.
Be very strong and do the right thing, so that this abundance of litigations after election will stop in this country.
The High Court building, which was initiated since 1999, is a 5-floor-story building equipped with 6 courtrooms, 6 conference halls, 6 witness waiting rooms, 6 holding cells, 6 secretarial offices, 2 general conference hall, a ceremonial hall, multipurpose hall, and a library, among others.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, World Bank raises alarm over rising food prices in low and medium income countries, calls for global action to tackle food insecurity. That's on Business News. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. It was all excitement in the riverine community in Ilaje local government area of Ondo State, where residents trooped out to welcome the governor and his entourage in a carnival-like manner. Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa was in the community to flag off the construction of 1,000 meters of concrete walkway and a jetty in that community. The governor says the project is long overdue, noting that this initiative is part of his administration's determination to improve the quality of lives of residents, which is his country home.
Our administration is fully committed to the overall development of Ondo State. I therefore like to assure you that like the local government area, we continue to enjoy the benefits of its own fair share
infrastructure to change the development narrative of our people. We are not oblivious of the yearnings of our people with respect to the ongoing 28.5-kilometer Abuja road awarded to the Fakino Construction Company. Our administration is committed to the completion of this important road. We stand to bring great relief in terms of ease of movement that will make a great impact on the socio-economic development of the Abuja corridor.
To Kaduna State now, where the Governor Obasani appears poised to scale up investment profile in the state with inauguration of a $20 million lithium processing plant. The company is sited in Kangime village in Igabi local government area of the state. At that commissioning, the governor expressed optimism that such investments will increase the internal revenue generation as well as create jobs for the teeming unemployed youth.
Governor Obasani arrives Kangimi village in the Igabi local government area of Kaduna State to commission a lithium processing plant as part of efforts to boost the industrialization of the state. The lithium plant is a joint venture between Kaduna State government and a Chinese mining firm. It has the capacity to produce 1,500 metric tons of lithium per day. The state government commitment is making the investment as part of efforts to boost the ease of doing business in the state.
This project is set to provide over 3,000 job opportunities at both the Kuriga mining site and Kangimi processing plant. The total investment budgeted as of today, it has moved from $12 million to $20 million to bring in other investors within their circles due to the government's demonstrated commitment to the development of the mining sector and the very attractive incentives it is offering to investors.
Governor Obasani later takes a tour of the facility, describing the plant as a testament of his administration's push to turn Kaduna State into an investment and industrial hub in the country.
We are leading in Nigeria in terms of lithium production because these are very important investors partner with us. We give them all the support, and today I'm happy that the ratio of our partnership is 30-70, which is of course the highest in Nigeria. Kaduna State government will have 30%, they will have 70%, and of course I'm also happy they have been able to execute a lot of projects within the community, giving scholarship to hundreds of indigent people within this very community, that is Kangimi, as well as the Kuriga community. Of course, that for me is very important because one of the major policies of our government is that the investors should look after the communities.
The state boasts of other mineral resources, including gold, tin, iron, nickel, and others across the 23 local government areas. The government is committed to sustainable development and attracting more investment in the state.
Before the nationwide strike by the organized labor was suspended earlier today, the West African Examination Council had announced that the ongoing senior school certificate examination will not be affected. While Channels Television visited some schools in Lagos State to find out if the industrial action impacted negatively on the examination or not.
An unusual calm within the premises of Lagos State Education District 1. Agege, that accommodates 4 secondary schools. This is simply because students, teaching and non-teaching staff remained at home in response to an industrial action by organized labor unions over the federal government's failure to review the minimum wage. But as early as 8 a.m. on Tuesday, candidates for the West African Senior School Certificate exam were already seated for the first paper of the day, Economics. The labor unions had agreed that the examination should go on despite the strike. Over 100 students that registered for the subject at Dairy Farm Senior Comprehensive College focus on the task before them.
And we have 100% attendance in the examination we done yesterday. And the same thing happens today. We have 100% attendance. And you can see the students are really writing the exam.
The conduct of the certificate exam also went on smoothly in all the schools visited in Agege and Ikeja.
It will have been devastating. The students will have a psychological effect of doing exam, there is a breakdown and they will not continue. The organizer will have a timing problem because NECO is at hand, and if this one is stopped, it will hit into the exam. The admission process into university too will be affected. So I think it's a good plan that the exam is going on so that we have a smooth operation of the school calendar.
I thank God that the students, knowing the state of the country, their preparation was earlier than before. So they were able to get to school on time, on the road on time, and get to the school before even the supervisors arrived.
The West African Examination Council had stated that it is concerned about the welfare of Nigerian workers, including those related to its mandate, but that children should not be put to a disadvantage of missing the certificate exam, a critical aspect of their educational development.
Next, we take a look at the food price inflation, and that's in business news. Dominique Wiwu is standing by.
Thank you, Anne. On business news, the World Bank warns that food price inflation remains alarmingly high in low and middle income countries. According to the latest food security update, over 59% of low-income countries and 63% of lower middle-income countries are grappling with food price inflation exceeding 5%. Key staples are seeing significant price hikes, with cereals up by 6% and maize surging by 21%. While wheat prices have also increased, there is also a slight dip in rice prices. The World Bank urges action to address food insecurity, particularly in vulnerable communities, and calls for governments and international organizations to work together to ensure access to affordable food. Now, with the labor union strike suspended for a week, economic experts are still assessing the impact. 4 accused have resurfaced in Lagos, while the search for a new national minimum wage continues. According to Mr. Sam Chidoka, Managing Director of Kairos Capital Limited, a 150% increase from the current level would be ideal. He shared his insights on Business Morning earlier today.
Looking at it, I think that both sides have to be considerate in agreeing on what the new minimum wage would be. On the government side, I think there's something about signaling. There is something about when those in government officials seem to be living large, as it were. I mean, recently a video was circulating on WhatsApp when the president was in Lagos, and you could count 30 SUVs in his convoy. Those things send the wrong picture. On the government side, I think that the optics is just all wrong. Maybe the president needs, and governors and people in office need a special advisor on optics. The optics is wrong. These guys look fat, healthy, flying private jets, driving around in convoys, driving brand new cars, imported SUVs. It just looks like they are balling. And the rest of us, the common man on the streets, just is suffering the pang of all the economic things that are happening around us. I don't think that we should have a fixed amount for minimum wage and that carries on for many years. I think that should be minimum wage should be increased by a minimum of 150% right now. And there should be a plan to constantly look at the minimum wage and seek to reflect it and make it not just a minimum wage, but a living wage. So I would say look at 100% to 150% increase at the immediate. So anything between 60,000 and about 75,000 thereabouts on the immediate, right? But that conversation needs to continue. You can't move it and just stay stuck there. Even in the private sector, issues around wage and wage adjustment are concerns that we always have and conversations that we always have.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has confirmed that it has no plans to revoke the licenses of Unity Bank, Polaris and Keystone Banks, describing it as false claims triggering financial panic. The This clarification follows recent regulatory actions against Heritage Bank PLC on June the 3rd. The central bank has assured the public of Nigeria's robust financial system, emphasizing banks' readiness to navigate challenges while highlighting their proactive steps to comply with the recapitalization program. To some company news, listed consumer goods giant Okumo Oil PLC has forecast a significant revenue drop of 34.9% for the third quarter of 2024. The company expects a turnover of 13.04 billion naira, down from 20.04 billion naira in the same period of 2023. Profit after tax is projected to decline sharply by 77.6% to 1.05 billion naira. Despite the expected decrease in turnover, the company foresees higher cost of sales and administrative expenses for Q3 2024 compared to the previous year. Meanwhile, in Q1 2024, Okumo Oil Palm reported a turnover of 43.48 billion naira and a profit after tax of 15.08 billion naira. The domestic equities market sustained negative sentiments for a second consecutive day as investors sell off banking stocks. Ini John Mekwa tells us more.
Everyone, welcome to the stock market report. Well, for the second straight day, we see that the all-share index dropped again, and it's all thanks to the fugas. Even the suspension of the union strike did nothing to help the market at the close of trade. We see most of the fugas right there, either in the red or unchanged, which doesn't really make a lot of impact. And this is captured in the all-share index. We see it drop not so much, but it's still in the red, 0.07%. The good thing, however, is that the all-share retained that 99,000 level, as well as the 56,000 naira for the market cap. We look at the sectors now, and that summarizes it. Banking, as expected, down 1.45%. Consumer goods actually managed to stay in the green, and that's because of Honeywell Flour, Nigerian breweries, international breweries. Some of these recovered from yesterday, I guess, cherry picking from the loss of the share price yesterday brought that. And then oil and gas seem to be retaining this unchanged status again. So for the second straight day, the second trading day in the month of June, it's another bear market.
That's it of business. Back to you, Anne, for the rest of the bulletin.
Thank you, Dominic. The Kano State Government, in collaboration with the Center for Dryland Agriculture, Bayero University in Kano, has empowered farmers and youths with hybrid seeds for the next farming season in the annual open day of the center. And this is to address food shortage and growth in food production in Kano and across the country. The center is funded by the World Bank to improve dryland agriculture research in the sub-Saharan areas of Africa and encourage entrepreneurial skills in the sector. Our correspondent Nanchin Vincent reports.
It is the third edition of the Center for Dryland Agriculture's Open Day, a collaboration with the Kano State government and other stakeholders in the agricultural sector to empower farmers of host communities with inputs and fund for young entrepreneurs with the AgriHack 2.0 initiative. Kano State government has 1,200 essential agricultural agencies established to improve food production and prevent food scarcity, not only in Kano, but the country.
Population is always increasing. And if we did not follow that with growth in food production, we will definitely find ourselves in a difficult situation. So this is very good. I'm happy to see that varieties are being released and then are being disseminated to the farmers. What is now next, and the most important thing, is to ensure that adoption is increased, the farmers accepted, and then is being monitored closely. With our food soldiers of over 1,200 extension agents, which is the highest in the country, we are always committed and we are open to collaboration
According to the director of the Center for Dryland, Bayero University research will continue to be a major part of its work for sustainable management of dryland natural resources.
You can see the diversity of stakeholders that came here, from processors to manufacturers of agri-products to farmers, extension workers, researchers, teachers. Everybody was here. And it's an excellent opportunity for networking, for understanding what are the main issues that need to be addressed. And this gives us feedback as researchers. We did a study and characterized the communities around BUK. They are virtually all agrarian communities. And we decided to deliberately engage them in a lot of the activities that we do. We give them advice, we give them support. They also support us by providing us opportunities for our research on their farms and so on. So when we have occasions like this, we also try to support them by giving them some seeds that are improved that can help them to address some of the stresses they are undergoing.
Beneficiaries are optimistic that the opportunity will help them be more efficient and deliver the best outcomes.
It's a very profitable venture, and if they want to diversify their source of income, they really need to venture into it. So it's good for them to have an avenue where they will actually have a kind of entrepreneurial spirit. And the entrepreneurial spirit now in Nigeria, if they really want to be independent, is just for them to remain farmers.
The center boasts of excellent teaching, learning and research facilities geared towards building capacities for agriculture stakeholders and establishing a regional agribusiness and innovation hub where youth and women will be mentored for wealth creation. From Kano Commercial City, Nanchin Vincent, Channels Television News.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has claimed a historic third win in a row in the country's parliamentary elections, but his ruling alliance appears to have failed to win a large majority as predicted. He thanked voters and said he would continue the good work of the last decade. Mr. Modi's BJP-led alliance is leading in more than 290 of 543 seats up for grabs, well short of their target of 400 seats. Well, here's Simon Piese with other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP party are projected to fall short of the 400-seat mark they were hoping for in the country's general election. Early trends show the BJP-led alliance is leading in just under 300 seats, while opposition parties are ahead in about 200. The world's biggest election was held in 7 phases over 6 weeks, with almost 1 billion people registered to vote. Norway's top general has said NATO only has 2 to 3 years to prepare before Russia regains its ability to launch a conventional attack on the alliance. General Eirik Kristoffersen's comments are the latest in a series of warnings from Western leaders and defense officials about the threat from Moscow and the alliance's current lack of preparedness. Norway has been a member of NATO since its foundation in 1949. US court papers allege that a British bank that escaped prosecution for money laundering carried out billions of dollars of transactions for funders of terrorist groups. Standard Chartered, one of the UK's largest banks, avoided prosecution by the US Department of Justice after Lord Cameron's government intervened on its behalf in 2012. New documents filed to a New York court claimed thousands of transactions worth more than $100 billion were carried out by the bank from 2008 to 2013 in breach of sanctions against Iran. In a statement, the bank says it disputes the whistleblower's claims, saying their previous allegations had been thoroughly discredited by US authorities. Mexican stocks have tumbled after Claudia Sheinbaum won a landslide victory in the country's presidential election. Mexican shares fell over 6%, while the peso, which has slid since the start of 2024, saw its weakest daily close since November. Outgoing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said on Monday that Mexico's finance minister will remain in his post for some time to help smooth the transition. When asked about the possibility of pursuing major reforms in Congress, he said he would discuss the topic with Sheinbaum. Grass wildfires have burned over 14,000 acres near San Francisco in California. At least 2 firefighters were injured in the region's first major wildfire of the season. Thousands of Californians. The blaze broke out on a hill managed by the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory on Saturday and has since spread on the wind some 20 square miles. Officials say this is a reality check for the upcoming fire season. Kanye West is being sued for sexual harassment, breach of contract, and wrongful termination by a woman who worked as his assistant for 2 years. In a lawsuit, Lauren Pisciota alleges the star sent her lewd texts and performed sexual acts while on the phone with her, according to US media. She claims she was fired in 2022, but that a $3 million severance package was never paid. A team of international scientists have said climate change made the recent flooding that devastated southern Brazil twice as likely. More than 170 people were killed and nearly 580,000 displaced after storms and floods battered Brazil's southernmost state of Rio Grande do Sul last month, while local authorities described it as the worst disaster in the region's history. Even in the current climate, experts from the World Weather Attribution Group said the heavy rainfall that submerged entire towns and destroyed critical infrastructure was an extremely rare event expected to occur only once every 100 to 250 years. But the group said it would have been even rarer without the effects of burning fossil fuel. And China says its lunar probe has successfully taken off from the far side of the moon to begin its journey back to Earth, carrying the first samples ever collected from the region.
各号注意，我是北京，钻进起薪结束，下面组织实施提薪整形。
State media says the collected module of the Chang'e 6 craft lifted off about 7:30 in the morning on Tuesday to begin the journey back. On Sunday, the robot landed in a giant crater close to the moon's south pole in a world-first feat celebrated by the international science community. China is the only country to have landed on the far side of the moon, having also done so before in 2019. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. Sports now. Manchester City have launched a legal action against the Premier League, alleging discrimination in a move that could have far-reaching consequences for the English top flight. Reports are also suggesting the recently crowned champions will try to end the league's associated party transaction rules, which they claimed are unlawful, and seek damages. The Premier League tightened rules regarding associated party transaction rules relating to clubs signing sponsorship deals with companies linked to their owners in February this year. The disputes between City and the Premier League would be settled after a 2-week arbitration hearing starting next week, Monday. The tennis now, 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic has pulled out of the French Open ahead of his quarterfinal against Casper Ruud owing to a knee injury suffered in the 4th round. As a result, Ruud will go on to face either Alexander Zverev or Alex de Minaur in the semi-finals of the competition on Friday. Djokovic blamed the slippery court for the injury he sustained in the second set of his victory over Francisco Cerundolo. The 37-year-old Serbian last pulled out of a Grand Slam competition during the 2019 US Open. And we stay with the competition. Yannick Sinner has extended his perfect record at majors in 2024 at the French Open, where he moved past Grigor Dimitrov 6-2, 6-4, 7-6 to reach the semi-finals in Paris for the first time. Sinner, who captured his maiden major title at the Australian Open in January this year, looked in control throughout his 2-hour, 30 minutes win against Dimitrov. The 22-year-old Italian will become the men's world #1 next week after Djokovic's withdrawal from the competition. And Carlos Alcaraz saw off Stefanos Tsitsipas in straight sets to set up a mouth-watering French Open semi-final clash with incoming world #1 Yannick Sinner. The reigning Wimbledon champion proved too strong for former Roland Garros runner-up Tsitsipas, powering to 6-3, 7-6, 6-4 victory. And Tsitsipas had even more success at net, winning 34 of 46 points, but he was unable to match Alcaraz from the baseline. The French Open does it for us here on Sports News. I'm Kelly. It's back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today directed the Minister of Finance, Wale Edu, to present the templates within 48 hours for negotiations towards an agreement on a new national minimum wage. And the federal government has said it is hopeful of an amicable resolution of the minimum wage dispute before the expiration of a 7-day ultimatum, as NLC and TUC suspended nationwide strike for 5 days. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful night rest.